Hey everyone, Jeff from Ajabu Accounting here, and today we're going to go over how to log the purchase of a property in Xero. So really exciting stuff here. We're going to go through the manual entry. I'm going to show you how to read through the HUD statement and bring everything over onto that journal entry. So stick with me here while we go through that process. Okay, so now we're in the Xero dashboard. I'm going to break down for you exactly what to do when filing this journal entry for purchasing a property. So the first step would be to click this plus button and go to manual journal. And that is where we'll be able to do everything that we need to do. So, but before we can get into that, I just want to show you a few things here. So for one, you have to choose the date. We'll just choose yesterday's date. That's fine. Also, we'll just say property purchase. Xero won't let you enter in a journal entry without these things. Okay, so now the next step that we need to do is to look directly on the HUD statement to get this information. So if we go over to our HUD statement, I filled out some dummy data here from this fillable HUD statement. So let's start with the balance sheet and then work our way over to the profit and loss statement for this journal entry. So this $250,000, it's going to be the value of the property that we're purchasing. So we'll go ahead and we'll just type in property. And so just so you are aware, I am in the demo account, as I mentioned, and I did enter these accounts in the chart of accounts in advance, so that way they'll be available. Some of these weren't available in the demo account. So just if, for reference, you would just click this accounting tab, scroll down, and then it would say chart of accounts right here. And then you just go ahead and create the accounts you need for your business. But since I already did that to save time, we'll just continue moving forward here. So, and this is also important. So the property, and actually, let me just type in this debit amount here, and we'll come back to that property tab right there. So we're going to go ahead and then put the, oh, actually, so loan was already an account in the Xero demo account default chart of accounts. So we are just going to use that here. We are going to edit this number and they're going to hate me for it for a moment here. And why, and this is actually why we want to separate everything on a per property basis. So you do see this property option here. So that is not a default option in Xero. That is something I added. So let's go to that really quick. And actually, I did make a video on this previously in terms of setting up the real estate investor chart of accounts. So make sure to check that out so that way you get full details on how to do that. So we would just go to advanced here, and then we would go to, oops, tracking categories. And then we would just put all that in here. And the reason why we want to establish everything through a set of different properties is because, we're going to have loans for a lot of various things. And if we were to just enter in a different loan from a different bank for each property, that's going to be a lot of like lines on our balance sheet. And we want to reduce the amount of lines as possible and simplify and streamline the process of reporting for each individual property. So that's why we want to break it down like this. We don't want to have a separate account for each individual loan. We just want to be able to have one account for a loan, and then we want to be able to classify it based on the property just as we're doing. So let me go ahead and just property purchase again. All right, so let's go back here. This would be property. Yep. And then we'll just say this is for the property of 123 State Street. This is for directly from the HUD statement. This was 250,000. And once again, the amount that of the loan that's also on the HUD statement. But we can I can show you that really quick just since I typed over some dummy data. I just remembered what it was. So let me just go ahead and enter that. So let's go back to this HUD statement here. And as you can see, this principal amount for new loan, 200,000. That's exactly what we're looking for, okay? So now we need to enter in the P&L side of this equation. So what is that going to entail? So the first thing we need to do as we look over to our HUD statement is we need to include our taxes, okay? So what you can do is you can break them down into just one line line, or you could break them down into 2 lines and then distinguish in the description which is a city tax and which is a county tax, as we have separated here. So just for the simplistic factor of just making everything a little bit easier, we're just going to include everything on one line. So we're going to go ahead and go back over here. We're going to go to taxes. Oops, right here, taxes. All right. And then we are once again going to include the property here. And then we're also going to include this 1400. Like I said, we're just making it all in one line. And this will all make sense here once. Oops. Yeah, there we go. All right. It's going to hate me for a little bit longer. We'll fix that shortly. So now we're going to go back over here. And we're going to then go to the amount of cash that we are going to use as the down payment. So in this case, this is a $250,000 property with a $200,000 loan. So obviously we're going to need to have 50,000 in terms of the cash that we're bringing over from our checking account. So if you are unaware of Xero and how they operate, Xero does not give you the option to use a checking account and a manual journal entry. I did make a video on this previously in terms of how to use the suspense account in Xero and how to get around not being able to use a checking account. So do check that out if you're not familiar. So we'll go ahead and we'll use this suspense account here. This is going to be tax exempt. It's going to be that 1400, which is what we're looking for. We're going to go ahead. Actually, no, that's not right. We'll keep we'll keep going there. So yeah, the tax is there. And actually, you know what? Before we could get to the suspense account, I actually forgot we do need the closing costs. All right. And then we go ahead and we get to that suspense account. But so let's go ahead and enter that here. And just because I already brought it up, let's bring up the suspense account. Let's bring it up for the property value. So for the actual property, I should say. All right, so we'll go ahead and delete this. And if we go to the HUD statement, we could see our closing costs, which is settlement charges. That was going to be 4,000. So we'll go ahead and enter that there on the debit side of the equation. And then for the suspense account, this is money coming from our checking account to pay for the purchase of our property. That's going to be the remainder of the balance. And on the HUD statement, that's going to be at the bottom, which is going to be line 303. So we'll go ahead and we'll enter that number in right now. And boom, everything equals out. It's going to be broken down on a per property basis, which is what we want. It's going to reduce the amount of lines we'll have on our balance sheet and P&L statement when we separate it by property like this. So ideally, when we're making a property purchase on Xero, and it's a little bit more complex, we want to be able to match the items like this on our journal entry, and then that's going to ultimately make everything more easier to read and understandable, not only as a large company basis, but also on a per property basis as well. All right, so that is how you enter a journal entry in Xero for purchasing a property. Hope you all found this valuable. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you are a real estate investor, there is a link below in the description with access to my calendar. I'd love to have a chat about your business and how I can help you scale your financial operations. So thanks again and look forward to seeing you next time. Peace.